Alright everyone, hello. If you watched my first video, my local thrift store has fill a bag of books for $1 on the second Monday of every month. Now, I work until 6:30 p.m. and the thrift store closes at 8. So realistically, I have less than an hour all set and done before I can reasonably check out. Because I'm not going to check out at 8 p.m. You know, I don't do that. Like, I have a friend, I'm going to get into the books in a second here. I'm not going to make the intro more than a minute long, so just skip to a minute if you're getting bored. But I have a friend who refuses to enter stores within 1 hour of closing time because he used to work in retail for 5 years. And I'm not that extreme, but I will check out by 10 minutes before closing time. I am not checking out at the closing time because, like, you need to close the store. Anyway, so the books. I got 20 last time. I only got 8 this time only. But still quite a bit. And because as I was about to leave, I was like, oh, I need to go check out. Before the rush of all the other customers, they're still looking around 10 minutes before the store closes, before that rush of people gets to the checkout. Also, I was taking the bus, so I needed to boogie because of that. But by the end, I picked up books that I wouldn't have necessarily picked up otherwise because I was like, it's just $1 and it's going to be a month before the sale happens again. So, just in no particular order. Kate Atkinson, Life After Life. I had never heard of this before, but this was the 10 best books in 2013 by New York Times Book Review. And when I looked on Goodreads, because that's what I do when I don't have a lot of time, or even when I do have more time, but when I'm thrifting, I'll check Goodreads to see if I might like the book. I typically just flip to random pages and just start reading and see if I like the author's tone and style and whatnot. But one of my friends had rated this book in 2014 and gave it, I think, 4 stars. So that it made her like, that it was a particularly compelling book, you know, very emotionally compelling. But basically the premise is that it's going through that what if scenario of like, what if you made one choice differently? How would your life turn out? How would the world turn out? And so the main character, Ursula Todd, born in 1910, it follows her life over and over again if slightly different things happened. If she died as an infant, if she hadn't died, it just... Some people found the book super repetitive, so there were a bunch of 2 and 1 star reviews, but I decided to just pick it up because it fit in the bag. So, there you go. That book retailed for $18 when it came out. This was a lot more positively reviewed. Consistently. Sue Monk, Kid, The Invention of Wings. I have never heard of most of these books that I picked up. That's what's so fun about going to the thrift store. If you go to the thrift store and you just look around at the shelves, it's just all jumbled. My thrift store sorts it by genre, but you never know what you're going to find. Same thing with the library. You just wander around and just kind of see what catches your eye on the shelves. You'd have found books that you would have never found otherwise. Anyway, The Invention of Wings. Let me read off the back here. So Oprah said this was a remarkable novel that heightened my sense of what it meant to be a woman slave or free, a conversation changer. Hetty is an urban slave in early 19th century Charleston, and Sarah is an idealistic daughter of the Grimkeys. This is inspired in part by the real historic figure of abolitionist and suffragette Sarah Grimke. Starts on Sarah's 11th birthday when she is given ownership of 10-year-old Hetty. This follows the 2 women over the next 35 years as they strive for lives of their own, dramatically shaping each other's destinies and following a complex relationship marked by guilt, defiance, estrangement, and the uneasy ways of love. Sounds great. This was a lot shorter than the first book that I showed, but this still clocks in at... I'm at the author's note right now. Okay. Clocks in at 359 pages. This book, I have heard of this book, and I actually, funnily enough, so this is not in the greatest condition, although I think it's just dirt. I saw this book, I don't remember the name of the person, but I saw this book mentioned by a YouTuber, and I thought this sounded fun. It's, the review on the front, this is The Amateur Marriage by Ann Tyler. The review on the front says, an ode to the complexities of familial love, and it just follows a marriage throughout the years. And, yeah, it just sounded really good. Just family dynamic, relationship dynamic fiction. Because typically I read things like historical novels or romance novels, and you just, especially in romance novels, you follow the relationship until they get married or whatnot, and you don't really see their dynamics after marriage. And so this is an already established couple, and I don't really know more about it than that. The back doesn't even have a synopsis, so I cannot really tell you what this is better than that. Yeah, the supremely ordinary pleasures and frustrations of middle-class American life, writes the New York Times. Carefully orchestrated, poignant, writes Joyce Carol Oates. And, yeah, it's on the border between commercial and literary fiction, so it sounds great. This is Ernest J. Gaines, A Gathering of Old Men. The Village Voice says this is the best written novel on Southern race relations in over a decade. This is set on a Louisiana sugarcane plantation in the 1970s. The Gathering of Old Men is a powerful depiction of racial tensions arising over the death of a Cajun farmer at the hands of a black man. Resold for $11.95 when it came out. Oh, this has annotations. This is going to be good. I hope that it's written throughout in pencil. Yes, there's notes. I like when that happens. I can see someone else's thoughts as I'm reading. Oh, whoa. Look at these annotations. Ideas carried throughout the novel. I wonder if someone read this for school, because this is copyright 1983, by the way. I definitely did. No, I didn't actually write in books, but I would get photocopies from my high school teachers and annotate the photocopies, very much like this person annotated this book here. And I wonder, not that you have to, I know I see booktubers annotating books as they read them, just to like more deeply connect with the novels. So you don't have to annotate just for class, but that's what I did. I mean, I annotate nonfiction when I'm trying to like really absorb and learn from those books, just in my own personal life, but I don't annotate fiction. Anyway, The Day the Voices Stopped, a memoir of madness and hope. So this is, I have 3 nonfiction. So I was about to say this is my only nonfiction, but that's false. So fiction 1 today, which oftentimes it does. It kind of depends, but sometimes I like to I go on a nonfiction kick. But this is obviously a memoir, as I said. It retailed for $25 when it came out, and it came out in 2001. So that's expensive back in 2001. $25? Okay. But let me just kind of read some of the page flap here. For 32 years, Ken still suffered the devastating symptoms of schizophrenia, tortured by inner voices commanding him to kill himself, ravaged by the delusions of paranoia, barely surviving on the ragged edges of society. It's also the story of how activism and advocacy helped Ken regain his sanity and go on to give hope to many others like him. Here he shares the experience of living with it, but also advises families on how they can support loved ones. Steele rose to the challenge of creating a new life, went on to become one of the most vocal advocates of the mentally ill, and Steele's story will give hope to all those who suffer the ravages of schizophrenia and those who will love and work with people in the grip of this devastating illness. Oh. He died tragically from heart failure in 2000. So this book was published posthumously. But this one sounds really interesting. This, of all the books I'm showing today, this is probably the one I'm going to get to soonest. Although I have not read a single one. Okay, that's a lie. I've read half of one of the books that I purchased in my my last fill bag of books for $1 sale in February. So, yeah, I've got a lot of books on the TBR, to be read shelf. I love buying textbooks. This is a educational book published by Teachers College Press. This is Everyone Really Equal? The second edition, an introduction to key concepts in social justice education. Now, I collect textbooks, but I also read them because I like to learn. And unfortunately, textbooks are written in a very dense way. So I don't just read them cover to cover. I'm not just sitting there reading this in 1 week. But I'm not currently an educator, but I've always planned to become an educator one day. I have an educational studies minor. I thought I was going to become a college professor, but life kind of took different directions. But that is a topic that greatly interests me. So I don't know how much this retailed for, but I want to guess at least $25. I purchased similar such books when I was, taking my education classes back in college. So, not cheap for those. This I know nothing about. This book is a romance that I just saw the kind of spine, pulled it out, saw the cover, and thought, you know what? Kathleen E. Woodowicz, she had more than 36 million copies of her best-selling novels in print. She's gotta be popular for a reason. Why, right? I've been collecting some kind of classic romance authors, particularly, really just exclusively Mary Barlow, because I follow someone on Goodreads, a very acquaintance of mine, so someone I barely know. Anyway, this person that I follow on Goodreads really loves Mary Barlow, and so, the romance novels are published in, like, the 90s and the early 2000s. I'm trying to get into those a little bit more. This is actually the third book in a trilogy, I think I gathered from reading the inside flap, but A Season Beyond the Kiss. I didn't even look up the Goodreads reviews. I literally checked out with a minute to spare to make it to my bus on time. So, I just had no time. I shouldn't even been looking at this book, but I was like, I got 20 books the last time. I just really want to get a good amount of books this time. Not that, like, the quantity should matter, but there you go. The last book, Michael Lewis, The Premonition. Like I said, I'd never heard of most of these, but this retailed for $30, and it came out, it's about COVID-19. It's a nonfiction book about COVID-19 that came out in 2021. So some of the reviews were like, this came out too soon. Maybe you should have waited a little bit longer to write the history of how COVID-19 progressed in America, but that is it. Yeah. Let's see. It says Michael Lewis's taut and brilliant nonfiction thriller pits a band of medical visionaries against the wall of ignorance that was the official response of the Trump administration to the outbreak of COVID-19. The characters you'll meet in these pages are as fascinating as they are unexpected. 13-year-old girl's science project on transmission develops into a very grown-up model of disease control. A local public health official uses her worm's eye view to see what the CDC misses and reveals great truths about American society. A secret team of dissenting doctors, nicknamed Wolverines, has everything necessary to fight the pandemic, everything except official permission. Yeah, so that sounds really fascinating. Taking a look at a variety of individuals and how they contributed to the pandemic response. Kind of cautionary tale type stuff mixed in there. But yeah, coming out just 1 year after it started does seem a bit soon. But I like this review on the back that says, I would read an 800-page history of a stapler if he wrote it. John Williams, New York Times Book Review. Okay, I know I talked pretty fast, but I tried to speed through reading the flaps in case no one is interested in that particular book. Things I'm most excited about, I think, are these two, because I really do like collecting textbooks, and this is a topic that's super fascinating to me. I love finding education books. There are tons out there, because a lot of people become teachers and sell off their textbooks. Well, donate their textbooks, they're not selling them off. But this one's newer, coming out in 2017, so, more of the more recent research. And I love reading about and learning more. I love reading memoirs and just reading more about how people's brains work, I guess. So, memoir schizophrenia is really interesting. And then, yeah, the others, I hope I like The Amateur Marriage, because now I have a copy of it. Although it's a little beat up, it's kind of folded at the corners, and some of the pages on the inside are folded too. But I like it. Then I have a copy. What I will do with these books, if I don't end up liking them, or I just let them sit around for too long and never read them, I actually never declutter books. I have books that have been around for quite some time. But I have 3, if not 4, little free libraries within half a mile of me. I live in a college town, so I think that's why I'm so blessed with little free libraries. But I will put these into the little free libraries if I don't end up liking them or don't end up really reading them. So that's my plan with that. And yeah, let me just show my receipt because I think it's fun just to see bag of books. $1.09. So, hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you guys again later.